So we'll just do a small activity today in the class. Okay, you will take a paper and you'll try to make, this is called a mind map, or this is called, a summary. Like example, if I make this map, this kind of things, which divides, it becomes easy for you all to study. This is a way to learn science very well. Just see the video first.
Hello students, welcome to
Okay.
Learner's Planet. Or we are divided into and a system to be
See girls, this is like what all we have studied in your, in the second term, in the first term. You studied that they are prokaryotic and eukaryotic, right? This
Yeah.
you all don't know. Just leave about that. After prokaryotic, here eukaryotic, just write we have unicellular and we have multicellular. You know that when I say eukarya, you have protista, you have animalia, you have kingdom fungi, you have kingdom plant. See, kingdom plant, kingdom fungi, you have animal kingdom, you have kingdom protista, and what is missing, girls, here?
And
Right, you have 4. Protista,
yeah.
fungi, plantae, and animalia. But in that, protista is unicellular. In multicellular, we have animal kingdom, we have fungi, we have kingdom plant, they call as autotrophic. Kingdom plant, they are called as autotrophic. Here, they are called as autotrophic here. Kingdom fungi, they are called as heterotrophic. And animal, know that cell wall is absent. What is the major difference between animal and plant, girls? Absent.
Animal is
Cell wall is absent, and in plants, cell wall is present. So this, if you like, you can take a picture. Okay. Make a, make a good presentation. Don't just scribble and write it down. I want on a white paper a good one, or if you want to take a color paper like yellow, but make a good one. Write each one of that and make those boxes. It must be landscape. Don't make it vertical. Make your paper horizontal and do it. Take a picture now. You can do. Yes.
I took a picture, Miss.
Yeah, you can take a picture. If you want, I'll send you the group also. Wait a minute. This is the first thing you're gonna make today. All right.
Okay.
Next thing I'll say you is, wait a minute. Sit here and wait. Okay. Next thing,
cell that is a living organism. It can be a prokaryotic rather
they're just explaining the whole thing in this video.
partially which are related to
I've already
plant
said
as
this
well as
many times, so I don't need to. Now, next thing, what I want here is, you can use anything, girls, if you want.
I have Miss Cups and
Use anything.
paper.
Fix me at the meeting.
But why?
I don't know.
Divided to bacteria. And then models. No, we've not given. Anyways, girls, do that, and then until that, I will search for you all.
salmon, hairless guinea pigs, iguanas, silky bantam chickens. But one day in my 7th grade science class, my teacher told us that we would get to see one of the most amazing animals ever in class, a hydra. And I have to confess, what I imagined in my head and what was actually reality was a little different, but I'm kind of used to that. Turns out hydra are pretty cool. Hydra are animals that are very small, a
They
few
look like
millimeters in
plants.
length,
See, these
and
are
they live
protists,
in
they
fresh
look like
water.
plants, but they're actually animals, hydra.
They can viciously attack and eat their tiny swimming prey, and they can reproduce by budding an identical offspring off of themselves. But if you saw them, you might not think they're an animal. What makes us categorize them as an animal anyway, and not a plant or a protist or a fungus? In fact, how do we classify in the first place? Well, this lets us jump right into our topic, classification. Taxonomy includes the naming and classification of species, and much of the credit for starting a formal classification goes to Carl Linnaeus. We'll get back to that a little bit later in this video. But back in his time, the 18th century, there wasn't a separate category for other organisms like protists or bacteria. They didn't know about detailed cell structure differences. They didn't know about DNA, so they didn't know genetic relationships that now can determine how we categorize organisms. And that's the thing about classification. As we learn more about DNA and therefore relatedness, how we classify organisms can continue to change. So first, let's look at an awesome hierarchy system mnemonic. There's a lot of great ones that you can find that people have shared online. We'd also love to share ours.
You know
Dear
that
King Paramecium.
I always taught you to, to make a, some short form to learn. You remember in grade 5, we used to have so many short
Yeah.
class. So like that, they said, Dear King Paramecium. They made the name of the king as Paramecium. Read it, see how interesting.
Cares only for green spirulina.
See, Dear King Paramecium cares only for green spirulina. This is the sentence. D for domain, K for kingdom, P for phylum, C for class, O is order, F is family, G is genus, and S is species. Okay, all these pictures I'm gonna send you in the what do you call as. I'm not saying you that do it compulsory. Do as much as you can and make such video or just on a paper and send me a picture, but not compulsory. Especially both of you, Batin and Malak, you have done a lot. You can do, Lean, you can do a project of this and send it to me. Okay, Lean?
But we sort of have a thing for protists, and we realize that might not be as memorable. So let's take a look at each group of this hierarchy, starting with one of the most inclusive groups, domains. Ah, domains. It's so awesome that all of life will fit into them. So there are 3 domains, bacteria, archaea, and eukarya. The domain bacteria is full of bacteria. They're prokaryotes, and therefore they have characteristics we've mentioned of prokaryotes before. These can include bacteria that the bacteria that are in your intestines helping you digest, the bacteria helping with decomposing, the bacteria fixing nitrogen in the soil, tons of different kinds of bacteria. Archaea are prokaryotes too, but they have some major DNA and structure differences that give them their own domain. And while they may seem more closely related to bacteria since they are prokaryotes, recent DNA evidence links them to having more in common with eukaryotes, which is interesting. Many of the archaea are extremophiles. That is, many of them like the extremes. Some like extreme salt environments, for example, which means they can handle extremely salty environments like the Dead Sea. Or methanogens. They can live where there is very little oxygen. In fact, most of them can't even handle oxygen. They use carbon dioxide to make their energy instead and produce waste gas, methane. Some of them live inside animals that eat a lot of cellulose, cows or termites. Another extremophile is thermophiles. They like extreme temperatures. If you ever dreamed of living near the deep sea hydrothermal vents, well, if you were a thermophile, you'd be in luck. We mentioned that archaea and bacteria domains are separate because they have some major DNA and structure differences that are significant enough to separate them. And so does the third domain, eukarya. These are eukaryotes, and so they have characteristics that we've mentioned before that are common for eukaryotes. And that's where we'll focus right now. So the next level, less inclusive and more specific than domains, is the level of kingdom. And here is the big disclaimer about kingdoms. Each organization is often changing, and it's not even something that all scientists agree on. We've seen a 5-kingdom system that looks like this, and a 6-kingdom system that looks like this. And it's important to understand it's a changing view as we learn more about DNA and cell structure evidence.
In further
makes
grades also you will
classification so
learn
exciting.
about this.
But if we focus on these eukaryotes, let's touch on them briefly. Protista, extremely diverse, and there's often talk about dividing it because of how diverse it is.
When you say Protista, they live in an extreme environment. Very cold, very salty. Everything is so extreme about them.
There are protists that are animal-like, and protists that are plant-like, and protists that are fungi-like, but many scientists don't consider them to quite meet the requirements to be in the kingdoms. Protista include both autotroph protists, making their own food, and heterotroph protists, which can consume other things for energy. Most protists are unicellular, but they can be multicellular. And some have cell walls made of cellulose, which is kind of similar to plants, and some don't. Fungi are heterotrophs, so no photosynthesis for them. If that's hard to remember, just think about athlete's foot. It's a fungus on your foot, and it's not doing any photosynthesis there because that'd be really weird.
Dean, can you turn off your
It's
mic?
there, causing irritation, eating dead skin cells. Fungi are usually multicellular, but they can be unicellular. And most of them have cell walls of chitin. It's a carbohydrate. Next up, plantae. Plants are autotrophs. Yes, even the carnivorous plants, because they still make their glucose from sunlight energy. Plants are, for the most part, multicellular, and most have cell walls of cellulose. Finally, last up, Animalia.
So girls, did you find this video interesting? You all can continue with your work, and please show me after you have finished it.